Good morning, everyone. So, I must admit, I didn't do my job up till now already correct, because the people of my team that prepared this presentation I will give very soon, they asked me to come up with some tango steps. I'm sorry. I forgot. I will try again or not. I'm not sure. I just will start. It will make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Anyway, it takes two to tango, isn't it? Not if you want to dance with GenAI. So I don't know how the dance will look like in the near future. I know how it looked like in the past couple of years, because yes, there are already a couple of years that we were working with or dancing with GenAI at this university, and I guess also in a lot of other universities this was going on. But but anyway, so my colleagues tried to convince me to take the steps today, but I took the steps before to tango with really many services, many people that were involved, and that's what I want to tell you about today. GenAI has secured its spot on the dance floor, so to speak, and will do for a much longer time, I guess, and so we will be dancing for a long while, and we should make sure that we don't get too tired from all that dancing. So like all higher educations across the globe, we really, as KU Leuven, we really were determined to say, well, let's engage with it. Don't be afraid. Just engage and embrace this new technology. And it's not without risks. Yesterday also I met some people, they asked me, don't you see the risk? Yes, I do, but it's not good to be afraid of something. You have to embrace, you have to cope with it, you have to be very alert. And so I will give you now an overview of the steps we took over the years, and I will follow a kind of timeline in doing so. And now I'm looking how to go on. Just... Okay. So, I was talking about tango with many. I give you the challenge to tell how many there are to tango with, but I will not make a competition out of it. It's just a challenge for your own, and I lost my counting anyway, so I cannot examine you about this. In our case, GenAI opened the dance already in 2022, before most of the world even was aware that it existed. We are talking about April 22, where the first messages came up and told us the following. Wrote my final paper for my honors degree, sick with COVID at that time. It was a 5-day online test. Wrote half of the paper and used AI bots to write the rest. Spent a day making sure it passes plagiarism, scans, B+, final mark. End of quote. GenAI was there, opening the floor, the dance floor, and we were aware of it. Tweets like this were popping up here and there, and yeah, it shows us that chatbots already exist long before ChatGPT was coming in the field. Some months later, so we followed this up, and some months later, this issue was presented to our expert panel of irregularities. Something like this at a KU Leuven. Well, we have funny people in the places here. That's very much true, but it's not that exciting as it's here on this slide. But nevertheless, it is a group of colleagues that follows up all the trends in fraud, in irregularities, we call it plagiarism, and so on. And it was this group where we discussed for the first time in October 22 what to do with GenAI. It was not called ChatGPT, it was still the global thing, it was GenAI. This group, by the way, is headed by me, and I really love the people that are in that group. And so while we were impressed by what was possible already at that time, but also what was not yet possible, like making references well and things like that, we knew very well the status. We were not overly concerned. We knew that it would increase and so on, but we were convinced at that time that it would take a while until our students would pick it up. Okay, we were perhaps more naive than our students were, who knows. So we did already know that these irregularities and that this part would increase over the years. Up to now, we are not that good, as a matter of fact, to tackle or to detect when there is a misuse of GenAI. We have about 17 cases, so 17 every year, 20, let's say, something like that, whereas the plagiarism is about 150 to 200, just 1 over 10. It's not, I think, because students don't know how to do it. Perhaps it's because our policy, but also perhaps it is because it's much harder to detect and we have to change our assessment policies. 1 month later, so we were talking about that in that very nice commission of irregularities. 1 month later, ChatGPT was launched, and it took about 5 days before there was 1 million of users in just 5 days. Much shorter time of introduction than anything else we knew before. And so we were really certainly willing to embrace GenAI. We also we really considered how to tackle it, because it's not only about education. It's also about, if you want to embrace it, it's about research. What does it bring for research? What does it bring for education? What does it bring for our operations? And foremost, what does it bring for the basics or the key that we have in our universities, and that's, let's say, the competencies of students, of professors, of our administrative staff, all very good professionals, but how can we keep that on? And that's not only for universities, that's also for industry. So a lot of things are made possible, but on the same place we have to really safeguard the competencies of our persons, of our students, and of our personnel. And so, as it's about research, as it's about education, as it is about operations, we had to partner, and that's the thing we love to do at this university. And so we started to do so. In February 23, we started with a writing group of KU Leuven that was starting to make guidelines for the use of GenAI, and that existed of experts on AI. We have an institute, a KU Leuven Institute on artificial intelligence. So people from that group, professors, experts were in there, but also people from research coordination and from teaching and learning services. And this is actually this was the first time that these two groups were brought together. They have a very different culture, so to say, on how to steer the policy in the university. And so that was the start of a new collaboration. It takes, at this time, 3 to tango, but there were many more. They started a writing group, and after internal ratification, we were ready to have guidelines that were communicated. We are now in May 23, communicated to our teachers, to our students, to our researchers in one kind of guidelines. They were coherent, they were consistent, they all had the same put the same attention. They were different for the different target groups. And it was picked up and showcased in this publication by the European Commission. We were one of the first that brought it externally, and so it was really nice to see that it was picked up. We also had a lot of networking sessions with other universities, and we're always eager to share. Central principles were transparency over the use of GenAI, that we expect from our students, that we expect from researchers. By the way, the editors of research journals also at the same pace were popping up and bringing their guidelines, and we looked upon and made sure that we were enough consistent with those that we like to have, with those that were embracing it. Another principle was verification about your sources, about the way you used or the content. Respect for the copyright, even if you get something via ChatGPT, via GenAI, you have to be sure that you respect the original resources that you make use of, and take the responsibility so that you and make sure, or we say, you are still, as a student or as a staff or as a researcher, you are still accountable for the correct use and the output. Trivial things today, I think we are talking about May 23, and at that time it was, it was still not that clear for everyone that all these things were needed, but that was our start. The versions of these guidelines were obviously only a start. It's not specific enough. We further specified it, and we went on. June. In May, we addressed these guidelines and we used them already for the assessment period, which is in June. So that was going on. Students had to follow that. And then in June, we intensified collaboration. We had already teaching and learning services, research coordination offices. The experts, they are behind, they are involved all the time. But now, these days, we also involved the KU Leuven libraries, the IT services, and the legal services to see what we can do with IP and so on. And with these services, there were also networks coming on, and they were very nice because we could use these networks, and this KU Leuven AI is this network of experts, and it was very nice to be able to use them to spread the news, to spread the guidelines, to say how we look at it. And this is still today not really an evidence to do so, because we have still in our community people that think GenAI, we should keep it far away from what we are doing. It is a danger. We should not embrace and so on. So we are not yet there. Even we started in 22 that the whole community is at the same page. Okay, January last year then. We started with a couple of priorities, and the first priority was that we wanted to select AI-based tools for the use and support within KU Leuven, and we had a choice on Microsoft Copilot as an internal, so well secured tool internally at KU Leuven, and also in the Blackboard AI design assistant. That's what we used, and that is available for everyone in the university these days. Second policy was setting up and organizing support and training. There are a lot of things done, and there's a whole website behind that, and what we offer there is the basic of GenAI, the guidelines for the target groups, the use of that of GenAI in the context of research and education, and also paying attention to safety, to risk, to ethical aspects, and to sustainability. That's all collected on that website. Further, there is for Intervision, there we have a GenAI Teams channel across the university where faculty entities can put their information, their good examples and so on. And so we learn that way also from each other. We exchange materials, we ask questions to each other. And questions are in a central way also followed up. We have a GenAI email address, and it's followed up by people from the research office and from the education policy and from ICTS, our IT services. We also have crash courses for the staff, intervision, and we had a day of workshops, and we had a day of educational developers. And for that, I just want to give you a snippet of what we did to introduce that day. And we used GenAI for that. We went back, you know, KU Leuven has its 600th anniversary this year, so we are very happy. We're in festivities all the time, and also here we went back in the past with GenAI to help to introduce us this Day of the Educational Developer, and it looked like this.
I have been monitoring the discourse, and I think I can really offer assistance here. Just ask me a question, and I will give the only correct answer. My sole purpose is to serve and support you in any way I can. Together, let us navigate the complexities of our shared quest for understanding.
It was just a short snippet out of that introduction, and it started with all our old people that were talking very wise things, and then this happened. Beside this minor glitch, the day was a huge success, of course. People were interested, were attracted attention. Okay, I can go on for a long time on GenAI, the support and the training, the student sessions. The student GenAI code of conduct was something that then came up and entered in our exam regulations. So how can students have a GenAI code of conduct, and or how can they use it? For what can they use it? And it's adapted every year because for legal purposes we have to define that at the beginning of the academic year, unless there is something happening. So every year we have a new GenAI code of conduct for our students. It looks a little bit like this. Students get informed how they can use GenAI for what kind of things, and yeah, a lot of specifications there. So it can be used, it's permitted to use for self-generated text. Through the verification is very important. It is under particular conditions, and they are specified, possible to use it to translate, to paraphrase, to code, or to generate multimedia. Yeah. So that's all allowed. What is not allowed? Acknowledged copying. So there is a lot allowed, and now we have to make sure that also our examiners, our teachers, that they also are aware of these codes, of course, because if they say no and we said yes, then there is a problem. Okay, so that code of conduct is really something we have to put focus on for the teachers in their assessment. There is therefore also a lot of work done on support and training of personnel, of staff, AI literacy and user community, chatbots user communities set up. And we have user intervision with learning networks outside the university, like our other universities in Flanders with students, with VIA, and within media in learning, and thanks for that nice network here. We have also the expert committee on GenAI, where more and more partners are involved in. I list them here one by one like this. So a lot of people involved. There are many to tango, many partners to tango with. And so now we are today short-term priorities is to consolidate that collaboration, because it's not a given, it's a work of every day to bring the right people together, to prioritize initiatives and to follow up new developments. That's where I think I more or less want to end. We have, of course, also, or we are working on a clear vision for master thesis and bring in AI literacy in the curricula at present. We are looking on how we can ensure that competences are taught and are learned for most, and how to make sure that GenAI is then used after that in a proper way. We also check the AI Act and what that means for education. Copyright is of a concern in GenAI. We have an team, an AI team, just to inspire you a little bit. Some worries though, some challenges, security risk, I talked already about that, and ethical impact is also, so who should train our models? Environmental impact, not use GenAI for things it is not needed for. The alignment, the top down and the bottom up in the organization is always of concern. So if you want to do things, we will have everything on the same page. And well, we have to reprioritize resources and capacity, because money is not increasing in these days at universities, and I don't think there is one part in the world where it's different. And so we will try to bridge the AI gap. The most important AI gap we have at the moment, I think, is to have or to ensure that the mindset is not the one of penalizing because of AI, but embracing it for its potential, notwithstanding to know the risk that it brings with it. So that's where I would like to stop, and I'm open for questions.